Hello, everybody, and welcome to another AMA at Tortuga. Today I'm your host Ganyo, and today we have AMA with AlphaKEK. So AlphaKEK is an interesting venture, and in this case, I usually put a summary, but I think they've really summarized it well here because AlphaKEK is an AI lab that powers Web3 tools and applications with the next-gen unbiased AI infrastructure. Today's speakers are going to be Vinny and Vladimir, which is a very pleasing thing to say. I love alliteration. So let's pass off to you guys first and foremost, right? Please feel free to give yourself a bit of an introduction and tell us a bit about your team.
Yeah, so I'm Vinny, and I am the Marketing and Business Development Manager at AlphaKEK, and this is our first AMA. So yeah, thank you, Ganya, for hosting us, and thanks for this group for listening. It's a very well curated group and very private, which I like. So yeah, AlphaKEK, we're an AI lab, and we built our own custom AI engine, and it's specifically for crypto data. Our ticker is ticker AIKEK on Ethereum. And our team is composed of our founder, Vladimir, who's on this call, and 4 other core contributors, including myself. And we're essentially a culmination of Vladimir's, life work as a data scientist and AI engineer. He's been published in OpenAI's blog as an early adopter of OpenAI, as well as NVIDIA's website. And we basically spent the last 6 months, actually it's probably more like 8 months now, if you include, pre-development, through the bear market, building, completing our engine with some front ends. We have a web app, a Telegram bot, and several proofs of concepts with clients and partners, projects that we'll showcase a little bit later. And yeah, what we do, we basically built and operate our own uncensored, unbiased AI model, and it's fine tuned for financial data, so both DeFi and TradFi data. And we have a consumer offer as well as a B2B offer. On the consumer side, we have several products. It's a simple chatbot, but it's accessible through web app and Telegram. We have a research assistant, and this is used for like content generation. It's used for hunting down alpha. We're almost there. Education, community engagement. And yeah, it's just a very fast, focus on crypto. It's unbiased, which is ideal. And on the B2B side, we target crypto projects, blockchains, ecosystems, brands. And for them, we create like custom chatbots and analytics sites, Telegram and Discord, as well as web apps as well. We do have several clients that we can get into as well. And why we got into the space, our end goal is, you mentioned alpha, right? So it's to help users get insights from the markets faster, more conveniently than existing tools. We're getting pretty close to alpha. This is something that I think a lot of AI projects, especially in this space, are, it's an arms race to get as much alpha as possible. You see these alert bots, alpha bots, being launched. But, as we're integrating more and more data into our engine, especially on-chain data, we're getting really good results. And, I think that the main problem we're trying to solve is, you might have experienced this in existing AI tools, whether it's in Web 2, but especially in Web 3, a lot of the output just simply isn't good enough for finance and crypto research. And yeah, there's a reason for this, right? You probably know that a lot of these tools are built on major LLMs, APIs, ChatGPT. For Claude 3, for example, can't even provide you crypto output. So yeah, there's a lot of tools out there that are just built on a very centralized foundation, a very weak foundation. And that's why we spent a lot of time just going through the long road of building our own infrastructure. And now that we have, we're going to start rolling out, pretty cool products that our community has been using so far. So that's the 30-foot, overview of the project, and we can get into our backgrounds in a bit as well.
Well, sure. Actually, let's get into backgrounds a bit about you, Vinny, because we talked a bit about Vladimir now. I want to learn a bit more about you. So, DeFi isn't your first touchdown phase, is it? Especially with the financial world. And there was a lot that we had actually discussed previously. So, do you mind just giving us a little bit of detail on that and why you're uniquely suited to be in the position you're in now?
Yeah, sure. So I have a pretty good mix of TradFi, fintech, and Web3, and now AI as well. About 17 years in finance, and I started out in banking and wealth management. Funny story, I used to work for Peter Schiff, the economist, for about 10 years. I launched several of his products, and yeah, that might seem strange because he's probably the biggest Bitcoin bear in the world right now. But it makes sense if you look at a lot of the gold bugs and the early Bitcoin OGs. They were philosophically into like sound money, and they were very libertarian. They were very, anarcho-capitalist. And that's before, Bitcoin. They were gold bugs, silver bugs. Like if you, look at Max Kaiser, pre 2012, he had a campaign called Buy Silver, Crash JP Morgan. So I think we share a lot of the same ethos, the gold bugs and Bitcoin, even though we butt heads once in a while. So yeah, I worked in banking for quite a while, and I saw a lot of downsides, regulatory issues, compliance. It just made things a lot harder to service my clients. And when DeFi Summer 2020 happened, it was a huge breath of fresh air because, you had basically code and algorithm solving a lot of financial transactional problems, right? Uniswap solved the ability to swap, currency exchange, right? You had Aave decentralizing lending, taking out the middleman to have fair interest rates. So yeah, I was a huge proponent of DeFi. Well, I still am. And I became a partner in a DeFi platform, which was a simple aggregator, similar to Zapper and Zerion. We were basically offering swapping, borrowing, earning, simple transactions. But that project in 2020, 2021 allowed me to integrate with many different blockchains and protocols. So, I integrated with, like about 13 different blockchains, protocols. I got to know a lot of these blockchains and networks, got grants from, Polygon, Moonbeam, Near, a few others. And, I also was able to launch an early AI feature. This is pre-ChatGPT. It didn't really catch on, unfortunately, because it was a bit early, but it was called a token recommendation engine. And essentially you connect your wallet, it scans your wallet, and it compares them against, hundreds of thousands of other wallets. And it will recommend certain Delta or similar wallets. So yeah, AI was an early passion. And in 2022, I took a sidestep into NFTs. I launched a few collections with some major projects on Solana. And that was more of a passion project. I created an AI music generator and streaming platform, and basically uses different AI models to view your NFT and generate a custom one-on-one song from that, so you can actually listen to your collection. So yeah, long story short, bear market hit. I went back into TradFi, which is my first love, and right now IRL, I work in Singapore. I'm overseeing the launch of one of the world's largest vaults for alternative assets. That's metals, luxury watches, luxury art, other assets too. And we essentially tokenize those assets. We built a peer-to-peer lending platform on top of that, with blockchain tracking, so you can track every single asset, in real time, publicly. And yeah, in about 9 months ago, I discovered AlphaKEK. I was an early community member. I found it in the bowels of 4chan in Biz, which is the business and finance forum, which I frequent pretty often. And yeah, Vladimir is quite popular on there. We both know a lot of the admins, and I saw AlphaKEK's first post in Biz, and I joined the community, became a large holder. And then, yeah, I want to be more proactive. And, as things got going, as the market started heating up, Vladimir extended a marketing role to me. And, yeah, the rest is history.
All right, thank you. And honestly, that gives me a good impression of what your specialties are. I mean, if you understand multiple markets, you basically open up the, 6% market penetration that Bitcoin has on the global market, up to the rest of the world, and it really does open a lot of doors for you, especially when you build those connections early and when you have such a proven history and track record, which are all very positive things for the position you're in now. So
I do want to mention the reason why I liked AlphaKEK so much is because in my IRL work, creating content for these alternative assets, I couldn't find an AI platform that would allow me to, well, one, scrape biz in real time, sort of like an alert, but also write really good financial content, because the output from some of these platforms are so bad. It's like, well, just diversify your holdings or talk to an expert. So I looked for an uncensored model first, and then it was biz. So it was a perfect marriage of the content that I was trying to create. And they had, AIKEK is integrating other mainstream data as well, Bloomberg and Cointelegraph and things like that. But that was the inception.
I think that's something a lot of people are looking for, because one of the great sort of issues that's talked about, in fact, even a consensus, right? One of the great big issues that's talked about is the learning curve to actually enter into crypto. And AI can actually simplify that learning curve by sort of not really dumbing down, but focusing on the parts that people need to know rather than the whole story. And I think that in itself speaks to the power of AI in the industry. It really does give people a competitive edge, even if they are new to investing or trading cryptocurrencies. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially taking huge, vast amounts of data and finding, two seemingly different, unrelated data points, but making a connection. And that's across, all modalities, whether it's, DEX data, on-chain data, smart contract code, obviously news, both mainstream and obscure forms, and even things like Satoshi's emails recently, that's integrated into AIKEK. So it's about finding data points that are trending at the same time in very far distant areas. And we're sort of trying to do that manually, right? Like I look for things that are trending on biz, but that are also are validated by on-chain movements and momentum. But just doing that manually is unfeasible, and it takes a long time, and it takes, hours.
Yeah, I agree with that. And this is the same thing. I'll give you a little context here. AMA groups have the same thing, right? All the owners talk to each other for sure. So projects come in, they filter, they go to one group, and suddenly all the groups know about them. But the difficulty is then trying to actually find
Mm.
individuals, right? Trying to find people who are interested in taking an AMA here, taking an AMA there. It's time consuming, and this is something Blue can speak to. So it is a sort of drag in order to find those high level things, alpha essentially. So it's an essential part of, even outside of investing. It's an essential part really of the DeFi ecosystem, even on the marketing and services side. So I really do think there's a lot of potential for growth in the future in that particular direction as well. But
Well, maybe
I
that,
digress.
maybe that,
Oh,
maybe there's a custom Tortuga alert bot where we can scrape AMAs that are trending and create an analytics dashboard. Who knows?
yeah, exactly. I mean, all of this is really, really fun. AI is like NFT. If you know how to do the contract properly, you can achieve almost anything. You may have to, put in several like redundancies in order to actually make it work, but it's an efficient path to your destination, and that's what I enjoy about AI at the end of the day. It's not about generating funny pictures, although that's what most people use it for. They're low-level AIs, but it's about simplifying the way we work and increasing productivity without decreasing the impact of human input, which I think is just a fantastic thing to be including into crypto, because the faster this space goes, the more volume we're receiving, and the better people are equipped to deal with certain issues and deal with certain problems that they face. Like I have this thing, it's launching at this time. I can't make it. I don't have anything else at that time. It is something that you want to target down on, and something that has been an issue in the space for a very long time indeed. But we will get to the custom bots later, I believe. So I'll ask some generalist questions first, just to give everyone a little bit of context on the history of AlphaKEK. So you were on Polygon initially, and then you migrated to Ethereum, right?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I think it's my turn to give you like a little bit of context. Yeah. So as Vinny said, we started AlphaKEK first as an AI real-time tool for analyzing fortune trends, simply because they update in real time. They have public API, and it's easy to get this data. And I thought that providing an uncensored model connected to uncensored data would be a really cool experiment, which turned out to be like much more powerful than even I expected. And back at the time, I thought that we will have probably some more on-chain specific features, and we decided to launch on Polygon to make sure our gas fees will be minimal. But we almost immediately we get a lot of feedback. A lot of people wanted us to switch to Ethereum, so we had like a lot of messages saying the moment you will bridge to Ethereum, we will buy your token, but not now. Who the hell uses Polygon, etc., etc. So after some consideration, about 3 weeks after we launched it, we decided to switch, and we basically created a snapshot of holders and redeployed the token, like airdropped it, and continued working on Ethereum, right?
Yeah, honestly, I think it was a smart move with volume spiking up and Ethereum reaching new all-time highs. It's actually a good time to be moving towards an L1. And this is what I said in the bear run as well to people who were listening back then to me. When you're in an L2, it's good in a bear because you're stagnant, you're not moving much, and that's a good thing. Whilst everything else is going down, you're pretty much staying at the same level. But when volume kicks in, you want to be able to have that migration to Ethereum. And that's because there's more opportunity, there's more volume. Yes, there's more risk, but it's deadened by the fact that you have more projects launching and succeeding than you do in a bear. So I think the reasons are sound. But now I want to ask, besides from that, how did the transition from Polygon to Ethereum sort of impact your existing user base? And were they still able to access your products? Was it chain reliant?
Since Polygon is L2, it was like extremely straightforward. So if you have a wallet there, of course, you have the same address with the same private key on Ethereum chain. So users didn't have to change anything just to log in with MetaMask. Just once again on our website after migration was over, and that's it.
Okay,
So
fantastic.
for now, so we still have a trail of airdrops, and sometimes people are asking us, hey, what this dev wallet did initially at launch, and we have to sometimes point people to our previous posts with all the public discussion about should we move from Polygon to Ethereum or not. But aside from that, that went seamlessly. I was really nervous back then because it was my first experience of bridging the project that is already online, and I'm glad everything went okay.
Fantastic. I mean, okay, now I've got to ask, right? Because you mentioned the point about the transition to Ethereum. In terms of scalability, in terms of user adoption, opportunities are better in Ethereum, but there's one big issue that people face when they are moving a project or they're migrating project, which is the increased transaction costs, not only for actually redeploying the contract or deploying a contract onto Ethereum, but also user cost as well. So has that negatively impacted your experience? Has that been a challenge that you've had to overcome?
I think lately, over the last week when we had crazy high gas fees, yes, of course. But generally, at least for now, we don't have any special paid B2C services, only B2B ones. So if you want premium access to our AI apps, all you need to do is to be a token holder. So basically you pay gas fees once, and then our system will just check if your wallet has enough tokens for the premium features, and that's gas free. So hopefully it's okay. But of course, we are considering having an option at some on L2 chain in the future. Probably since the very beginning, this was the ideal move. Having a token on the mainnet and an ability to bridge to L2, not vice versa, but it is what it is.
Okay, fantastic. So, that's pretty much all my generalist questions. Let's get a bit more into the utility side of things before this drags on a little bit more. So I want to find out about these AI-powered utilities because what you say is you're not offering just one thing. In fact, you're an AI lab, just like, there can be NFT labs or things of that nature. So, how many AI products do you actually offer to date, and what are they?
Yeah, so on the B2C side, there's a chatbot and there's a research assistant. On the B2B side, we have a custom chatbot. So this is a, a go-to market strategy that, PAL AI pretty much like proved and to, at scale. So creating just white labeled custom chatbots, for projects, Web3, blockchains, ecosystems, anybody who has a community, who needs to create a certain level of community engagement. And this is for like good user onboarding, but it's also for having fun, right? Joking. And for us, because of our data and, all the data points that we've ingested, 35K or more, data points, which Vladimir can talk about. It's also used for crypto research. So you can actually ask questions about, tokens. It's integrated with Dex Screener data, CoinGecko data. There's actually a new command that allows you to do a token audit as well. So yeah, it's typically custom chatbots on the B2B side and analytics sites. So right now we're going to announce later this week, maybe this is alpha for this group, but it's a well-known ecosystem that we created a custom analytics site for with both public and private data for their community. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Maybe Vladimir can mention their name in a second. But yeah, maybe you can elaborate on those products, Vladimir.
Yeah, of course. So the core of the common core of all our products is what we call AlphaKEK Fractal. That's basically like an AI data engine that I was developing since the last summer. And the key idea of it is to take various DeFi and TradFi related data from both the Web3 on-chain data and from the Web2 and combine them in a way that will be combine them in a form that will be the best for the AI models to understand. So basically what we have, we take like a lot of unrelated data, merge it together and feed this into our like front end, which to user apps. So yeah, we have just the chatbot available both like in Telegram and in our web app. We have a special reports feature which performs deep search across Web2 and Web3 data, scans additional like sources, tries to search websites for some specific topic that you are interested in. It takes longer time to generate an answer for your question, but we strive this answer to be as comprehensive as it's even possible. And yeah, we have visualization tools because we are not just checking the current on-chain data in case of Web3 or just, for example, the news with the web search in case of Web2, like a lot of our competitors are doing. We are building a knowledge graph with all the historical points since the September last year. And we use this data not just to provide the answers and insights and to do analysis, but also we show like market sentiment trends. Yeah, for this time range, and you could try this in our bot like right now. And in the future, we will be using this data to train some additional models for forecasting, for AI agents, etc. And what this means for end users is that basically we can train our AI on much higher amounts of data than our competitors can, and we can do this in the efficient and quick way. And for end users, for B2C, that simply means that we have more various data than the others. For B2B partners, for like other ecosystems or chain or projects or else, that means that we could quickly and easily train our AI on their own specific data related to their project, their news, their documentation, marketing posts, etc., to make to provide the best experience and onboarding for the users, to engage them, to give them information about their projects, etc., And yeah, I think we could share the thing that Vinny mentioned. Yes, we are preparing an announcement about our partnerships with multiple projects in Airwave ecosystem. Their Perma News DAO, their Everpay network for making like gasless payments, and for Decentraland project that basically aggregates various news about decentralized infrastructure. And what we can do, what we did with them is that we basically took all their data that they had in their websites and their data APIs and train our AI on it. And as a result, if you have like some really niche questions about their infrastructure, about their technology, you can ask our AI about it and get the answers. And when the Airwave dev started testing it, they were surprised by how well it works. And they even say, we didn't even know that it has the access to like these pieces of data. So it was really cool to see that even they are impressed. Yeah.
Okay, so there's actually an incentive here with the partnerships that you've mentioned for projects to actually approach you if they have a more technical side to their development arm, right? Because it makes it very easy for their audience to then re-engage with what they're doing and their communities to re-engage, which increases the amount of exposure that everyone has on both sides.
Yeah, user acquisition, onboarding, you can call this like internal education for these ecosystems because they're onboarding, developers, core contributors. So that's definitely an important use case. Yeah, just education and internal assistance.
All right, fantastic. So let's get a little bit more into the utility side of things because I got the overview. Let's go into detail, and I want to see how deep this rabbit hole goes, so to speak. So Fractal, right? On your white paper, you say this is the core of everything, right? It's a data engine. What's a data engine?
I think I'm not gonna dive really too deep into details, both not to share our secrets, also not to make people bored. But basically what it does two things: data ingestion and data retrieval. So ingestion part means that we take the data of multiple kinds. Yeah, in our case, these could be like just some news about crypto projects, or some threads on 4chan, or token data, and both like security audits and how they perform on DEX, and converts them into some unified way that is most convenient for a language model to operate. And then what it does is to checks all the other data points that we already have and searches for possible connections and constructs some special kind of knowledge graph. So like it's not just saving some specific data points, it automatically computes how these data points is related to the data that we already have in our knowledge base, in our knowledge graph. And this process is compute intensive. That's why we have like a hybrid cloud solution at the moment. So we host some of the stuff like locally on our GPU server, and some things we host on the cloud. But since we already pre-computed this data, the second half, the retrieval, is extremely effective. Because if you don't do this part, and to my knowledge, no one really does this, like ChatGPT, etc., they don't do this to many various reasons. In case of ChatGPT or Bing search, simply because if they wanted to do this, they would need to cover all the possible data, because people ask ChatGPT all kinds of stuff. We have a really narrow niche for us, that's DeFi, and a little bit of TradFi that is directly connected to the DeFi. We compute our knowledge graph just for this part, and when the retrieval, basically when the user asks finally a question to our bot or requests a report, when we need to retrieve the data, since we have pre-computed everything, we could retrieve much more information with already computed relations between these various documents, and provide much more initial insights, initial information to the bot. And when it gets all this retrieved data, it writes an answer to the user, of course, and more initial information means more accurate, more detailed answer, and better answers means more accurate decisions made by user, and more alpha, and hopefully more wealth for the user of our apps.
So what you're saying is it's essentially it's not going quite into quantum computation, but it takes the same basic principle, which is evolution over time, essentially. You have a multi-layered code base which allows you to put call orders from individuals who are entering a query, and because of the way that your system operates, it has a training function attached. So the more people that are using it, the better the AI becomes at directing them to appropriate alpha. Yes?
Roughly speaking, yeah. So
Okay.
for example, yeah, when you, for example, create a custom report with some specific topic, we save all the additional insights that were generated while answering it, and then the next user who asks some question, he will get all these insights that we generated during the previous one.
Fantastic. And this is the core of a lot of your other utilities, right? You could almost call this the engine that powers it all. I think that's actually quite a unique structure for a product, because you essentially have one core product, which is the fractal, the AlphaKEK fractal, and you also have all of these offshoot products that have different UIs drawing from that single database, right?
Well, another crucial part is the unbiased model itself. We verify, train, and benchmark it on our proprietary data set to check that, there are a lot of news online about some mainstream models being left wing or right wing or whatever. So they will ask about some political questions, and each model gives some not so centric answers in each case. But the problem is it also works for financial data too, for financial related reasoning tasks. And that's the second key part. Once we have a data engine, we also need an AI model that could operate with this data flawlessly, without being too risky or too shy of making a decision, or leaning left or leaning right. It should always be the user. That's our key thing. Some people use this tech just as uncensored model that could reply to any question. But that's just a byproduct of our tech. The key idea is that it should be unbiased and follow users' queries.
I think that's also a USP for what you're developing, right? At the end of the day, and you're right, a lot of AI models tend to be biased, and it's typically creator bias at the end of the day, right? You will get some filter down based on people's own personal views, sort of like the creator to the created kind of thing takes on aspects of it, because we love seeing things of ourselves in really anything, and it's the same for AI. So an unbiased model is actually really strong as a selling point because it means that you're not leaning towards a political party, a particular set of beliefs, or really anything. You're centric. And that makes you reliable for financial information, whereas other AIs, which people may or may not use up to this day, aren't. And that in itself is a very, very good selling point to actually push forward, especially in a market that cares less about what views you have and more about how much money can I make in as short a time as possible. That's DeFi for you at the end of the day. So now that we've talked about the bias factor, I actually have some questions on this, specifically related to the unbiased AI chat. So, how did you train the AI chat model to be unbiased, and how was that process for you?
Right. So there are multiple approaches to this task. The simplest one that we the first step is to take some open source model. So of course we don't train anything from scratch. So basically we take open source models and then try to make them as neutral as possible. In our case, we currently host two different models for our Telegram chat and for the Fractal itself. Both are based on Mistral models by Mistral AI startup, who used to post open source models. Now they don't, but we luckily still have some stuff from them. So we have a lightweight model with 7 billion parameters that works for the AI chat. It's blazingly fast and quite cheap to serve for like hundreds of thousands of users if needed. And it works with already pre-computed data from the Fractal. So it doesn't need to be extremely advanced in terms of logical reasoning. And for the AlphaKEK Fractal, we have a heavyweight mixed-row model, which is like a mixture of experts. I don't know if anyone follows it, if you don't, whatever, it's not so important. So basically we have a lightweight and heavyweight model. Initially they are taken from Mistral models. And after that, we do the following thing. We take an instruction, fine-tuned data sets instruction data sets from the open source sources, basically like, for example, from Hugging Face. And we do the following thing. We check the question and answers listed there to see if this data is neutral or not. And if we see that this data has like some kind of bias, we remove this from the data set, and we do this trick with multiple data sets, and then combine them together and fine-tune the initial foundational model that we use. After that, after this step is finished, we have also our like special data sets that consist of crypto-related questions that we like automatically ask our model, and it should answer every of these questions. And then we check the result, and this is the part that I'm trying to do both automatically and manually for the extra sanity check, to ensure that the replies that we are getting, they are really neutral. Because, for example, an issue that we had last week, it's Monday, so like a week and a half ago, is that we tried to upgrade our smaller model config and use, I don't know if you've heard about this, well, whatever. So basically, I've tried to merge our like current model with the model that that was trained on the math problems. And my initial reasoning was that if you merge like the crypto model with math model, nothing bad will happen. But when I did this, my idea was to improve the math reasoning for our chatbot. It turned out that the original math model was not neutered before trained on math, and it still has its left bias. So when I merged these models together, I saw that we actually got a better answers for math-related questions, better logical reasoning for math. But at the same time, models stopped answering some specific questions regarding high risk or some stuff that the original model thought is unethical. So this is kind of the stuff that we are working with. And when I talk about all this stuff, you could think that it's kind of overcomplicated, too nerdy or whatever. But one of the things why we are doing this is because everyone, every major AI player is getting more and more closed. So as I've said, OpenAI, the first they stopped making their models open source. They're not open anymore, basically. Mistral AI was publishing open models until recently. They were acquired by Microsoft. And I have internal connections at Meta AI, and I'm pretty sure that Llama 3 will come this summer, and it will be open source. And Llama 3 will come this winter, and it will most likely also be open source. What happens next, we don't know, because training foundational language models becomes a more and more expensive task. You need tens of millions, hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars to do this stuff. And our plan is to accumulate high quality data as much as possible, so to be prepared for when the kind of final, probably last open source large LLMs will come out. And of course they will have bias, but we will be able to fine tune them. We won't have to tune them from scratch. So idea is to basically, what we do right now with all this data preparation is still kind of testing. And the idea is that I think we'll reach the point when really open source LLMs, really advanced ones, will extinct most likely. And we should be really prepared for this point to be able to stay independent in this regard. Yeah, that's it. I hope it wasn't too nerdy. Are you guys okay?
No, nerdy is good, man. Honestly, I appreciate the passion that you've created this with. It is a complex model, and it's here's the thing, right? Everyone can create a good project, right? They just need the right resources, they need the right time, and they need the right people. The problem is, not everyone can create a good product for that project. You see meme coins with nothing all the time. And this is proof in the pudding. But when you actually have someone who's dedicated to creating a product that not only works, but also functions as intended and that can actually scale up like this and grows itself and has a dedicated team behind it, it's the combination for something that has long-lasting sustainability. So that's the training process of the AI chat model. So tell me a little bit more about the sort of the evolving nature of language here, right? Because this is one of those things that I find are always going to be difficult to implement into AI, because everyone's finding, and this isn't to offend anyone or anything, but everyone's finding something or someone to be mad at. That's just how it works nowadays. So, given the evolving nature of language, cultural shifts, especially in the long term, what's okay now will be completely and contrastingly different from what's okay 50 years from now. So how do you actually update and refine the model to maintain that neutrality and that adaptability across a lot of different users with a lot of different opinions?
Well, as I've mentioned, when we say unbiased, we only mean the financial part. So we probably should put a disclaimer, but yeah, our model is uncensored and it's trained to be unbiased when it comes to financial decisions. Everything else, except when you ordered a custom AI for us. This is another scenario, and we will do everything tailored for your request. In all other case, you will do at your risk. So right now, if you will ask like really harsh and offensive questions, most likely you will get a really offensive response. So like I saw people like in our group chat where you could like test the bot for free without being a token holder, asked why you are dumb to a bot, and the bot replied, "You're probably trolling. Instead of doing childish things, concentrate like on maximizing your wealth," or something like that. And yeah, so that's what in programming is called like undefined behavior. Most likely it will work, but since it's out of our scope, we won't be guaranteeing anything, because like the purpose of the bot at the moment is financial stuff.
Oh, definitely get a disclaimer in front of the bot then for sure, especially if it's dealing with financial stuff. And I do appreciate that you've tried to make it as even as possible for what it is right now. And obviously, that's going to only improve in the future as you continue to develop it. Okay, I'd like to move on to the next utility that you had, which is the crypto reports, right? The alpha thing. This was interesting because you mentioned earlier you're actually getting close to alpha. What's the development process for that actually look like, and what do you define as alpha in a space that moves so quickly?
I think we have two definitions of alpha, and the first was covered by you and Vinny, I think, is to basically detect some emerging trends, something launching like extremely new tokens that are promising, etc., etc. So yeah, basically I would call alpha. Alpha covers like two scenarios. Yeah, the first one is to like in margin call movie, be the first one, be smartest one, or cheat. So we can't cheat, so we need to be the fastest or the smartest. Yeah, in terms of being first, being the fastest guy, yeah, I think you've covered this. So basically, we have already a lot of sniping bots, and I even saw someone in the Tortuga chat already asking us whether we want to. So yeah, Alan was asking about, do we want to add some buying sniping functionality to our bot? And the question is, of course, yes, and that's one of the definitions of alpha. So basically, like not just capture trend, but perform an underlying data analysis and ensure that it's the thing that's not just trending but worth investing into. And we will add this functionality when we will be sure, like from the data perspective, that we are good enough to provide this to users. And reports is the first step towards that. So yeah, what reports do, they are basically some kind of alerts or TLDRs on some specific market trends that are tracking fundamentals of the market, basically. So for example, if you want just to get a rundown of what happened to mini coin sphere in the last like 12 or 24 hours, or you have like some very specific, for example, for B2B questions about your own ecosystem, what the report functionality do is basically performs a deep search across websites, tries to do various search terms, check news, see how they compare to each other, whether there are any contradictions, etc. If that's about like some specific token or market, check their market data, then provide a rundown. That's what I would call another definition of alpha, I think, but we would need to check the data. So basically, is to take a look at the fundamentals and try to detect or predict, or even better predict, when we see some specific trends are reversing. For this case, we already have like a visualize command in our bot, which you can use to track any specific market narrative. So right now, all it does is just return some really simple chart. So for example, if you use AI tokens or Bitcoin ordinals or Solana or some specific token or whatever, it will check what we have basically in our, like in AlphaKEK fractal, what data we have, and then we'll print you the sentiment and the sentiment trend. And that's the first step, is to track fundamentals, like towards achieving alpha. The second step would be is to provide in just alerts, personalized alerts to the users, and collect the data and the feedback from them on how it's going, and use this feedback to improve our models. And only after that, we will probably add some sniping functionalities, because of course there are some sniping bots already that just like take the trending bot from DEX screen, check if the token is okay, and show it to user. But we can't like measure the effectiveness of such things. And our idea is, when we will push such a feature, we will be able to quantify its effectiveness.
I suppose it's all about foundations first, right? The way your build at the moment, you need to have a robust ecosystem that you're focused on and you know about before you start expanding and trying to try out new ventures in order to sort of plug and play into AlphaKEK. And I think that's a really good approach, because it means that you're not straying too far from what your knowledge base is until you know that your foundation is rock solid, in which case, yeah, fine, let's do some exploratory and let's try and integrate all these other things for quality of life, which I think is a really, really good way to approach it, especially when you're trying to build something long term. Because if the foundations aren't solid, then everything just collapses in on you. Okay, so
Ganyo, can I add to that?
absolutely,
Yes.
you can. Go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, so in other words, we've taken the road less traveled, which is like a long, winding road through development, creating these USPs, like you mentioned, the unbiased model, fractal knowledge graph, just, massive amounts of data sources. And, there's a bunch of other functions that are starting to emerge because of the output. So, the sentiment analysis that you can run inside the Telegram group, the data visualization, and then integrating, on-chain data, that'll actually require another piece of tech. We're codenaming it Alpha AGI, because it's a complex multi-step approach to getting the on-chain data and structuring it, for the data set. Whereas if you look at other, AI projects, especially, some new ones in the space, they have some hype, and they're really just launching, alpha bots or alert bots or sniping bots. And I think what they have is good product market fit, because they have geared themselves towards understanding their community and what their users want. And it's true, people want alpha bots. They want to be curated, what to do and what to buy with as little, clicks as possible. And, it's sort of like creating guardrails, for the output. So, our advantage, however, is that because we've done the hard work and we have, higher and higher quality output, now it's time to productize. So we can actually start templating some of this output. And yeah, you are seeing the token audit, functionality, the data visualizer functionality, sentiment analysis functionality. These are just happening organically. But, at a certain point, we could just take a look at these existing popular sniping products, alert products, and just replicate them, but do them better and add not only the quantitative data that they're providing, which is, price, market cap, volume, momentum, but qualitative as well. We can start adding sentiment analysis, a bullishness score, a short summary, across all these different data points, even obscure, blogs and things like that. So that is a priority for us, because now we're going to market. So, if your community has feedback, if they want to provide examples of bots or methodologies that they're using that they would love to productize, then yeah, we're definitely open to it, because creating a Telegram bot is pretty easy, right? It's really just the infrastructure and the engine behind it that's the hard part, but that's mostly done.
All right, fantastic. And thank you for clarifying. I always appreciate a bit more detail with these things. So Bots not inheritance bias. Yeah, that's fine. Let's talk about the paid AI apps because this was what interested me about the model. Because, as you said, Pal AI sort of popularized the white label solution when it comes to this. You know it's effective and you know it works, which means there's a proven case study for actually scaling it up. What makes you guys different, and what are you offering?
Okay, I could start, and probably Vinny could continue from the product side. I could start just from the tech. Yeah. So probably I'm repeating the word fractal way too often, but since it's our core, it is what it is. So
Take a shot.
Yeah, since we can basically process more data and have more data in our knowledge graph, we are better in this very specific regard. If you are really small, so yeah, we have like two differences. First of all, if you are some really niche product, for example, meme token like Sambank meme was our first custom AI bot. What we can offer for you is, since our model uncensored, as I've said, the default bot that we offer to every token holder is fine-tuned to be as neutral as possible when it comes to financial decisions. If you are working, for example, on some very specific product where you don't want it to behave like that, for example, if you want the bot to be to resemble, for example, Sam Bankman-Fried and Caroline as close as possible, and ideally acting like provocative a little bit. That's the thing that ChatGPT could refuse to do, because like it could say it's unethical or whatever. And in our case, we could, like, for smaller projects that don't have like a lot of data and only require some deep customization, we can like provide this degree, like any kind of degree, whatever crazy stuff you would like to, we will do it. But another thing for larger scale project that I have briefly mentioned is that if you have a really lot of documentation, for example, multiple websites, like we did for Airweave guys, multiple websites that covers years of data or various articles about your ecosystem, about your project, documentation, etc., etc. That's the thing that other platforms simply won't be able to handle properly. And we can do this fairly easy. So Airweave guys basically were the first ones, and we tested all this stuff on them to ensure that everything works smoothly. And now like the whole process is streamlined. And now when you have like hundreds of documents and they are spanning across multiple years and cover all the different topics, that's not there is no difficulties for our tech to work with that. Yeah. So basically the summary is, yeah, if you have a really little amount of data but want some, we can offer you like some deep customization and offer like crazy behavior for your bot that will make your project to stand out in a way that like other AI projects can't. And another way, if you are a really huge established project and we have a really lot of data, we can offer you a deep integration, and you will be sure that we'll work like with your data in the most comprehensive way possible. And another craziest thing that we are like just discussing at the moment, I think once we started sharing the alpha, you could share this, that just maybe everyone who's listening to could is interested in this stuff as well. One awesome stuff that I would like to do is to, in the future, is to work on coding assistants for creator projects. So basically, for example, if you are not working, if your project is not on Ethereum, and if you are not working with Solidity, if you're using some more niche and obscure technology, most likely the existing AI tools won't be able to provide decent development tooling. So we have like GitHub Copilot, which is now an industry standard, and my primary job is JetBrains, and like we are developing stuff for developers for many years. And we have our own AI assistant and every major player is covering major languages: Python, Java, C++, C Sharp, etc., etc. If you are working with Solidity, even there you have some issues, because Solidity is still quickly evolving language, and like AI models, since they have knowledge cutoffs, they can't really, like for example, be aware of the latest vulnerabilities, code standards, etc., etc. You will have to retrain them. And if you're working with some like really niche stuff, so for example, Airweave guys have like their own like specific technology, and a lot of other projects like Cardano, they all have their specific languages for their tasks. You won't be able to use all the latest AI tech to assist your developers or to onboard the new ones and boost your ecosystem. And that's the thing that we hopefully will start targeting by the end of the year. Yeah, and yeah, that's it probably from my side, and maybe Vinny could say something just from the product perspective.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Vinny, anything?
Yeah, Ganyu, you mentioned PAL AI and how we compare, and what are some ways that we're better. I think PAL AI, they sort of paved the way for creating custom AI bots in this space in Web3, and in my opinion, that's very it's good work. It's low hanging fruit because people need it, right? So communities, projects, ecosystems, they're managing these groups, and they need a good community engagement tool, right? Just for customer service, for educating people on the product. And it's also like a conversational assistant for a lot of these people. They might use it for generating, content like bullish social media posts and things like that. And I was an early holder of this Solana meme coin. It's called SBF. And I basically advocated for deploying an SBF, like Sam Bankman-Fried persona bot, as well as Caroline Ellison, into that group. So I brokered a deal with AIKEK to create, to step backwards, I actually try to use PAL. So the first bot I used was I just deployed the free PAL version, and then I looked at some of their white label solutions. And what I found was the output of Sam was okay. It was kind of more generic that you would expect from like a chat GPT. You couldn't definitely ask like silly or provocative questions. It just wouldn't provide that kind of output. And you couldn't really use it for crypto research. So we had, there were community members in the group that were asking, hey, how do I ask about this particular token? Why is WIF trending? Why is WIF, what are the upcoming catalysts? So even though it was doing an okay job with a custom knowledge base, on PAL to answer basic questions about the project, it wasn't really able to give comprehensive answers as well as research questions. Yeah, that's why I reached out to Vladimir to create a custom version, and basically create a custom persona for both SBF as well as Caroline. And the community has been really enjoying that. They've been creating like really edgy content, memes for posting online, and also research, right? Because it's pulling from DEX data, from DEX Screener, CoinGecko, and pretty soon on-chain data. So I think that was a necessary step for us for SBF to create much better output for the community. And that was a proof of concept, which we can easily scale, through white labeling.
And I think that's a really cool use case. I mean, that's a really good example of what you can do with your data set that you have now. And I think the point that Vladimir made, you don't have to train a model. You don't have to collect all these data sets. It already exists within Fractal. Now you've got clients coming to you trying to build their own. And all the time, you're always growing. The bigger the project, the bigger your data set grows, the more financial data you can draw from, and the more information that you have access to. And I think in a world where zeros and ones actually have running value, the guy who has the most information is king. So definitely approve of the sort of mastermind plan there, because I think that is the way that a lot of projects, especially AI, should be going. It's about data collection, and it's about the growth of the industry through proper logistical analysis. But that comes a bit later. So let's go into your revenue model, actually, because you mentioned you have a $100 tier. Can you actually tell us what's in that, and then tell us what's in the $1,000 tier that comes after?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, first of all, if you simply want to like take a look at our bot in our like official AlphaKEK underscore chat, you could always try it with some limitations, but still, what holding the token allows you to do. So first of all, yeah, the first tier, when you have $100 worth of AI KEK, you get the access to our AI apps, to the web app chat. You can see our auto report data that we generate like every few hours using like the current trending topics, and you can once you has logged in with your MetaMask on our website, you could also like type a login command in our Telegram bot, and it will forward you back to our website. You will pair your Telegram account to your MetaMask wallet, and since then our bot will know that you're a holder, and you will get the access to use the bot in your DMs or in any other chat. And so that's the first, that's probably the first benefit that people use the most, is to be able to basically chat with the bot, use its functions in private, not letting everyone know what you are looking for and what you're interested in. And of course, aside from the chat, you could also use the reports and visualization stuff and summaries. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. So the second tier is when you have at least $1,000 worth of AI KEK, is what we call like premium tier at the moment, and it gives you some extra features. So first of all, when you generate a report or open someone else's report, for example, one of our auto-generated ones, you will get more detailed rundown on each of the sources. You will get there, for example, bullishness and legitimacy data that we take like by analyzing the text. So of course, each report contains like a lot of up to tens of various sources, depending on the question you are asking. And you could not just check the answer, but also get a really detailed analysis of where the data came from. And you can verify and get a TLDR of every sources just by like hovering your mouse. And for example, you get also a lot of other features in the bot as well. So if you use visualizations, you will get like a longer context, like a longer history frame for market sentiment data. If you're using summaries, also summary generated will use like more messages, will include more messages, and all the future when we'll start like rolling out more features that I think we'll discuss in a few minutes. Of course, all the premium tier holders will be shortlisted for the beta tested first.
Okay, fantastic. So now I've got to ask about the extant stuff, because this is always the interesting bit. So in terms of privacy and quality control, right? Because this is a big thing with AI. We want our AI to be able to take our personal information, but really do nothing with it. So what kind of security measures do you have in place to safeguard individual user data and ensure, say, the privacy of transactions with AI applications, for example? So if you're sending money over blockchain, how do you ensure that's not tied to a particular account? Particularly in light of the regulations about the AI space, data farming, and potentially some privacy violations as well.
Well, I actually have masters in cybersecurity. So initially, what I was studying is like AI models for cybersecurity. And while like studying university, I have realized that I like AI in general much more than cybersec. But I still like remember a thing also, and I still have like paranoia from like all these years of lectures. And first thing that we do is we minimize any data that we have at all. So like if it's possible not to save this data like anywhere and remove it immediately after the transaction is over, we do this. That's, for example, one of the reasons why we never train on your inputs and outputs. So some people sometimes they ask, can you add the dislike buttons for the outputs like ChatGPT does? So, for example, if I don't like this output, I would like to mark it somehow. And at least for now, we decided not to do this at all, because doing this means that we save this data somewhere. And we prefer not to do this at all. Maybe in the future for some private beta testing, for example, when we roll out new features, we will enable this stuff just for the sake of beta, so early users could evaluate it. But right now, we purposely, on purpose, don't save this stuff anywhere. So there are still some things that we save. Just for example, Telegram IDs associated with wallets. But this data is encrypted, stored in cloud, basically in Google Cloud, and certified with SLC2 protocol. And even I sometimes having a hard time accessing all this data, because you have multi-factor authorization, etc., etc. Probably at some point of time, we will try to implement even more strict security measures. So, for example, of course, all this zero knowledge stuff is emerging, and I keep an eye on zero knowledge and ML, etc., etc. And it's an amazing idea, basically, to have zero knowledge ML in general. But for now, it's related to huge computational overhead. So large language models, they are really memory intensive, and wrapping all this stuff in ZK algorithms makes them unusable. So yeah, the answer is that we are trying not to save everything at all. Those little pieces of data that we save are encrypted and stored in the cloud, which is certified with different security certificates and protocols. And in the future, we'll hope to also wrap all this stuff in zero knowledge data, so we won't know at all, even if you want, what are you doing with our ML, because it's important when you work with financial stuff. And of course, for really huge B2B clients, we could probably even try to do some on-premises stuff when we don't have any access to your servers at all, and you're running everything on your own. But you need to be a really big client to afford this, I suppose.
Fantastic. Thank you for the answer. I really appreciate it, actually. And it's good to know that there is internal and external protection and security. And it's nice to know a guy who has a master's in cybersecurity is managing the defense of our private data, which is quite nice. So with the introduction of custom AI apps and integrations, things like that, right? How do you plan to maintain quality control and prevent potential misuse of your products by third-party developers or other users who want something for a specific purpose, but that purpose is either inappropriate or highly illegal?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. So I got personally feedback and warnings in my DMs from token holders regarding PAL, and because there were histories of them retweeting some people and making bots for them, and these projects turned out to be rug pulls. And we will have some, in case of B2B, we will have background checks, and for all the other cases, we are still figuring out what the best policy would be. And I think ideally it would be something like by default, the bot will try to limit questions that are not related to financial advice. And if you want to unlock it, you should basically like agree on some specific terms, probably like sign it with your probably sign a transaction to verify that you have read and accepted or something like that. So it's a really tricky thing, especially given that in any country there is its own definition of what's allowed and what's not, and European Union is getting more and more strict on this. And we actually really prepared because AlphaKEK Fractal contains European regulation on AI and crypto in its mind. So sometimes I ask AlphaKEK questions to get like an advice on this. So the idea is to add some limiting measures, and that's for B2C. And for B2B, I think we'll be deciding like individually. So whether they want to like control this stuff themselves, what degree of control they have. So for example, in case of SBF bot, there is a limitation that like basically be provocative and naughty, but don't do any not safe for work stuff. So for example, since we have a really high degree of control of these unbiased and censored models, so like uncensored doesn't really mean that it will always reply like bad stuff, like adult stuff. It means that bot will do whatever you will train it to do. And for example, in case of the SBF bot and Caroline bot, that means that the bot won't ignore when the users like write some really not safe for work like questions to the bot, but the bot will try to answer with humor and stay more or less polite. So it will be suggestive. It will be like slightly trolling the user who asked this question, but it will still be safe for work. And I think that's a scenario that most of the B2B partners will probably want to stick to.
Very quickly touched on the nature of the EU, actually, and this is something that's interesting because very recently, back in February, they passed down rules for use of AI tools and software, right? This was in terms of what they can be used for, what levels they can be used for, and where AI would be banned. And you're touching on the upper echelons of that with the financial information part, or at least you are in part, because what they don't want to do is have an AI-controlled open market. So would you say that this is going to be a potential obstacle for adoption for you in the EU? Or would you say that there is room to navigate and you're looking into your options?
I think, well, right at the moment, they limit, like, for example, medical advice, not the financial. So hopefully, like, at least for now, we are safe. But I am preparing for the worst, and they want to be some guardrails to be implemented and make all the systems transparent. And in case we will have to do this, to be able to provide the service within the EU, most likely, so we will see. I think, like, first and foremost, it will depend on how expensive would it be to implement, because the biggest concern about like all this AI regulation is not just that AI is being regulated, but because like on one hand, implementing all the security measures is expensive, it's time consuming, and time is money. And on the other hand, it will limit the user base one way or another, because you will limit some use cases. Some people decide they won't need this, and you will lose revenue. And first, like, if they will introduce some limitations just for finance advice, we'll try to estimate how expensive would it be to implement the guardrails they want. And if we'll decide to do this, one thing we'll do for sure in this case is to make absolutely transparent for the user what exactly did we do. with all this guardrail system. Because what we have like with all the others, like Claude, ChatGPT, etc., is that they just politely refuse. And if we will be limited, I hope not, but if, who knows what happens like in the coming years, we will give a user like a detailed rundown what was censored, how and why, to give them like a full understanding. So even if the answer is somehow censored, we should still provide the information, as much information as possible, including the information of like what censoring mechanisms were applied and how and to what degree and to what extent and why. Yeah, that's kind of the worst scenario. I hope they won't do this, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. So let's take a look at marketing procedures for you guys, right? So this is a question for you, Vinny, marketing and development. So talk to me. What marketing procedures have you been taking up to this point in order to get the product and the token out to the world? And how effective have they been?
Yeah, we're just starting our marketing campaign. So again, we mentioned this is our first AMA. We're creating a lot of content that will help conversion rates, foundational content. We just launched our new website, so feel free to go to AlphaKEK AI. We're still building a lot of content, but yeah, we want to have just higher conversion rates. So, landing pages, a cleaner homepage, iterating on messaging, more video footage. So we have a lot more raw data of the actual app happening. So it's a little bit clearer, what our offer is to both B2C and B2B. We are in talks with, more ecosystems, more blockchains, and we are planning to, apply for grants. I have successfully secure grants in the past from a couple of blockchains, Moonbeam, Near, Polygon, to name a few. So I have some good relationships with these blockchains. I still talk to a lot of them, even if we didn't get grants from them in the past. And I think the integration strategy, because these blockchains, they want to hear how you integrate with their data or their chain. I think an integration strategy for an AI project is a lot different, maybe easier than a DeFi project. Because really it's just data. So if we could just integrate some of their on-chain data, it's really based on what they want. So yeah, there's a bit of a negotiation that happens. Like, what is the bare minimum for us to partner, get a grant, get some support from these ecosystems? So that's a big priority. We have a long list of ecosystems and blockchains that we're talking to, as well as reaching out to. As far as, the go-to-market for B2C, it's sort of what we mentioned earlier. Right now, the app is kind of this open canvas that many people could use in different ways. And a lot of them are just using it in many different ways. I, for one, when I was creating content for my IRL TradFi work, I was creating, blog articles about specific topics, RWA, for example, metals, alternative assets. And what I found was, I was like an early tweeter I was explaining over this long Twitter thread, when the app first launched, on how to use it. And I realized, we have to create a lot of curation and a lot of, instructions for people to use these in different ways. So why don't we just enforce that, implement that through bots, right? That just curate that specific use case out of the box. So that's something we're collecting, these different use cases, different templates. And we're going to, quickly move towards creating these alert bots and alpha bots that, people are asking for.
Okay, fantastic.
And the distribution be easy through Telegram.
Yep, distribution should be easy. Telegram. You've got the Telegram bot that integrates the chat AI as well as the crypto reporting, right? So it's really easy to access from your phone. Okay,
that's
wonderful.
Right.
So, I want to ask, what's your target demographic for the product at this stage? So you've just started your marketing, you're pushing forward for the first time. What's the target demographic that you're looking for to enter your community? And what are you looking for in terms of people actually being there for the conversion? Because it's one thing to convert a person, it's another entirely to keep them there.
Yeah, for the B2C, I would say our target market before, we grew out of a very sort of, I guess, underground, very niche community, which was biz. So our initial community, probably our first 100 members and users were from that community. And now we're branching out to more, I guess, a mainstream audience, but definitely still power users, people who, love AI. They like to experiment. They like the tech, and they're finding their own ways to use it. On the B2B side, I guess it's really depending on the biggest ecosystems that are offering grants, that are offering support, and that are willing to partner. We'll go with those first. And there's some hype chains out there. We're looking at Base. I really like the Base L2 network. I've been pretty active on there as a, I guess, investor and trader. Got some early bags on some of their meme coins. Know some of their management staff. So yeah, we'll probably reach out to some of these hyped chains first.
And I suppose there's a KOL front to talk about. Is there anybody that's doing an ambassador program for AlphaKEK at the moment?
We have some in the pipeline. Yeah, we have a marketing advisor / agent, and they have a massive network. I mean, they have some of the biggest KOLs in the space on speed dial. And right now we are doing more of an organic push. We're trying to win hearts and minds through Twitter, and we are filtering a lot of AI related posts in Web3, and we're accumulating a list of some of these KOLs that are interested in AI. Yeah, it's a trending topic, AI projects, AI tokens. But yeah, we have access to a lot of these major KOLs on speed dial.
Okay, fantastic. So there are plenty of opportunities for a potential catalyst to increase the price. Let's talk about tokenomics a little bit, right? First off, how many tokens are there?
I think I could follow on this one. So yeah, we have 256 million tokens total, and we have burned 11 millions and a half of them already. Yeah, so we haven't touched tokenomics really yet. We have 4% tax on buying and sell transactions, and as we decided on our DAO voting, we use 33% of this task and of all of our revenue, basically, so from B2B to buy our tokens back and burn them. So we have burned over 4% of our total supply so far, and we'll stick to the plan, and we'll keep burning more and more, basically making the token deflationary.
Okay, and this is something we should have touched upon in the revenue model section, actually, but tokenomics fits it as well. You have a buyback and burn mechanism, right, based on your revenue. What does that look like, and why did you implement that?
Yeah, so first of all, initially back on Polygon, we thought that we will try to just use 1% fee on like Uniswap trades and use them to sustain our AI infrastructure, and for maybe some possible premium products, we will ask some additional token fee using the fact that Polygon has cheap transactions or like free transactions at all. And when we switched to Ethereum, we had to deal with the fact that asking the user to make like frequent transactions is probably a bad idea because it will cost a lot of gas, and it's probably better to have the like one-time fee instead, and a higher one-time fee could be probably like perceived as not a good thing from the user's perspective if you will just take 4%. So and at the same time, it would be nice to incentivize the user to invest in us, and basically that's why we chose this plan. So on one hand, when you buy our token, you get the access to the AI apps. And on the other hand, as we accumulate more revenue, both from B2C and B2B, we do more and more buyback and burn, and our token will get more and more scarce and therefore more expensive, hopefully.
Wouldn't that present an issue when it comes to new user adoption at a later stage, though? This one's for Vinny, right? So if the token price is climbing higher and higher, and there is more of a barrier to entry, and those who got in early have essentially paid 1,000, but their investment has grown, wouldn't it actually disadvantage people who are coming in if you've based it off dollar value rather than number of tokens held?
Yeah, we discussed that internally a lot. And right now the user tiers are bound to the dollar value, not the some specific token price. And that's another thing. If you are a really early token buyer, that means that your basically user tier will grow automatically without any extra efforts from your side. So for example, if you chose to get a basic tier, but you got in early, that means that over time, if you grow high enough, you will get to a premium tier. So on one hand, newer users still have the same barrier of entry in terms of value, but on the other hand, our early users will get a bonus for trusting us on our early stages, and they will get the more premium tiers for cheaper. And probably if we'll develop some really cool stuff in the future, some AI features that will be extremely compute intensive. And I think once we will grow in terms of hardware, that could be true. We will have to introduce one more tier or some paid services for some. I won't dive deep on the details because I'm still figuring out how it would like. But I think at one point, we'll offer some services that are really compute intensive, that require a lot of resources. And to access them, you will need to be a really high tier holder, or you should buy them for tokens. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Wonderful. No worries at all. So teething issues, right? You're marketing for the first time, and you're going to receive a lot of feedback like this. I think that's going to be really helpful in developing your process. Hopefully, you find a way to do it. I mean, my suggestion would have just been to tie it to a stable coin, and then utilize that stable coin payment to actually buy back into your own token, so that you can sort of mitigate any price impact and volatility that you'd otherwise experience with crypto. But yeah, you take whatever method you want to ask, because that's the end of my questions. So there have been a couple of questions in chat that I do want to cover. One was sent to me in a DM. So this one was asked. So we talked about finding alpha using the crypto reporting bot as well as the search chat function in the unbiased chat bot. Now, what he wants to ask is about the reverse. Can it help to reduce or eliminate scammers by highlighting contracts that have a bad history behind them?
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the things that I was experimenting before starting AlphaKEK as we know it. So initially, I was just exploring, analyzing the raw Ethereum data transactions and trying to build graphs to find out scammers and rug pullers, and analyze some contracts data on transaction level granularity. But back then it basically turned out that it's cheaper and easier to start with language models than with on-chain data analysis, because if you do really advanced stuff, you will have to host a full node yourself. So for example, of course, we have a lot of cloud. That's probably a bit of nerdy stuff, but whatever. So if you want to do a really deep analysis of on-chain data and figure out more than usual like Toker sniffer and a lot of bots could say to you. It's basically impossible to use such services as Alchemy, like Infura or whatever. So basically any Web3 data providers. Because of two reasons. So the first reason is that you will need a lot of like throughput, and you will need to do like a really lot of transactions with low latency. So basically, your full node and your software for analyzing like and detecting scammers should be running on the same machine. And if you don't have like the direct access to like Infura servers or Alchemy, and you simply can't vault in, your software simply won't be quick enough to detect and compute all the stuff needed. And for some time, I was like doing some experiments on the testnet, and I was trying to basically like scam myself and see like the transactions, how they are going, etc., etc. And yeah, we have like a more detailed transaction analysis in our like roadmap a bit for the future, because we will have to implement this chain by chain basically. And what we want to do now, as Vinny said, is to basically copy the best. So there are a lot of like basic kind of stuff that we still haven't fully implemented. So as I see, like the Achievement Alpha is kind of a puzzle with a lot of different pieces, and we have some unique pieces that no one else yet has. But at the same time, there are some pieces that are like kind of like widespread popular among some other projects, but are still missing for us. So for example, tracking like scammers on all the chains. For now, we are doing this only for Ethereum, and some more advanced checks. We are going to cover this first, and after that, we will dive really deep into analyzing on-chain data. And the cool thing is that unlike Web 2, Web 3 persists like over time. So we manually like save all the Web 2 data that we crawl from the internet to the like retrospective analysis for the future. And the idea is that when you like finish implement every low-hanging fruit in our roadmap in terms of on-chain analysis, what we will do is to we will go back and start to check what we have in our like Web2 data set and what happened on-chain back at that day. So if we know about some scams, if we have some specific news, etc., we'll start digging back like months below and figuring out what accounts reacted first. Was there someone who had this inside information, like, and reacted before it was published, etc.? So there are like a lot of amazing stuff we could do, and we'll certainly eventually like reach this point. But yeah, right now we will just we need to finish taking all the low-hanging fruits first.
Yeah, good answer. So this is a question from Alan in the Tortuga chat. If some of your sources are known, so I think he's referring down to the reporting and the news part of the bot. If some of your sources are known, is there a risk of competing projects polluting that data stream in order to purposefully FUD or damage an upstart competitor without any real basis?
Yeah, that's a really nice question. I think that there are like multiple levels at which we can mitigate this thing. So first of all, soon we will release like more interactive data visualizations for like our data sources. So like right now we have a visualize command in our bot that shows you just a plain 2D image, and later on it will we will upgrade it to a like full-fledged like web app that will show you some stuff in 3D, and at this point, it will be like extremely easy to find semantic duplicates. So basically, for example, if you use ChatGPT to generate some kind of FAD article, and if you use like similar prompts or even the same prompt to generate multiple articles of some specific nature, it's actually extremely similar to compute their similarity. So if you have like this already like works for 4chan threads, and will surely work for like that are like shield threads basically, and it will work for such kinds of news as well. So if you have like the text could be different, but if the semantics are kind of like absolutely the same down the end, if it's like the same kind of FAT, it will be quite easy to detect. And of course, if someone decides to play like really offensive game with us, we will find how to deal with it. It will be, I think, like we will win.
Okay, fantastic. So some parts of this question have already been answered, so feel free to ignore those parts. But would you consider expanding to performing actions like buying tokens for clients, either doing it yourself or through integrating with some of the Telegram sniper bots?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I've mentioned this previous, like, also question by Alan. Yeah, as I've said, and as Vinny said, we'll surely do this. But yeah, our idea is to provide like a measurable, like measurably good like advice and calls. So at least we can like implement basic sniping functionality at any moment of time. So it's quite easy to do. You just take token, see if it's trending right now, see if there are some obvious red flags, and if not, show it to user. That's what a lot of bots currently do. Yeah, our idea is to make sure that when we post something, we have some measurable data that ensures for us that we can actually recommend this specific token to user. Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Vinny, do you have something?
Yeah, I just want to add one quick thing. Transactions will probably be later down the roadmap because it comes with a higher level of risk, obviously. Right now, it's more about democratizing callers, right? So the KOL industry, we're all getting alpha from somewhere, whether we're doing it, manually by, deep diving into different forums and cross-checking, against on-chain versus CoinGecko, or we're listening to callers who, might have insider information. They're closer to the projects. They're closer to the information. So it's sort of like another modality, to that might have some crossover with those two methods, but it is more of a distributed, more democratized way to do that.
Fantastic. So we're coming to the end of the AMA now, give or take. Is there anything from your side that you believe we've missed in the AMA, or anything that we haven't covered?
I think Vladimir is very humble about his past, his experience. And I noticed that we didn't really ask him too much about his experience at JetBrains as well as his embeddings work with OpenAI.
Yeah, because like Vinny said a couple of things about me like in the past, and then Ganyo said that's enough. Yeah, actually, if we finished, I could brag a bit about myself. So, for example, I wanted to mention this. For example, on the previous island question about data poisoning and like purposeful FAT and damage. So, for example, one of the things that inspired me to start AlphaKEK was by previous job. I was a development lead at JetBrains Research Astroparticle Physics Lab, and we do a lot of AI stuff related to analyzing astrophysical data, both like raw measurings from telescope arrays that are like capturing cosmic rays. And actually, I've presented this stuff on the NVIDIA AI conference in 2022. And the last project that I was working on, I was like a diploma supervisor for one of students was called like language models for multi-messenger astronomy. And what we did there is we took like a lot of archives of emails that astrophysicists from NASA and from other labs were sending to each other regarding different reports since early 90s. There are like about 50,000 of such like emails from early 90s to the present time, and they are all like in the public archive on the NASA's website. And we started like training what we now know as an AlphaKEK fractal. So we try to figure out how to process all this information that like has uncertainty and it has typos, and these are basically just emails. They have incomplete information, and try to structure it and extract insights from there. And now it's like running in production for some in some lab in Paris. And before that I was doing a lot of stuff with computer vision, with generative AI, and I was like at the NVIDIA AI conference with some generative image stuff in 2021 before it became popular, before Stable Diffusion has appeared. And astrophysical stuff was also mentioned in the OpenAI's blog post. We had like a private beta access to embeddings that we used to analyze all these messages. And before that, I was working on large-scale code analysis. I was trying to train the very first coding assistants based on GPT-2 when it just came out. So I had some scientific papers, and I have trained my first AI models about 9 years ago, and have like 7 years of AI experience. So I could talk like a lot about the previous stuff. So since I also mentioned that I have like masters in cybersecurity, so during crypto classes we try to experiment with very first versions of Solidity, and I wrote my first smart contract back then about 6 years ago. And since then I was like investing in crypto as a hobby, not doing something really special, but I was really passionate about this due to the openness of the data. And we see this trend happening with the Web2 right now. The moment GPT-4 was released a year ago, a lot of websites started like closing their public data APIs, for example, Reddit, Twitter. So for example, Stack Overflow, Stack Exchange, it's formally on paper has like Creative Commons license, and everyone could use this data. But there is a trick. So previously, Stack Overflow was publishing the zip archive with all their data like every 3 months. So everyone can get all this data in one click. And since GPT-4 was released, they stopped doing this. So like right now, the data is still formally open, and you have like Creative Commons license, and everyone could use this if they provide attribution. But at the same time, it's now like impossible to do this because you need to use the API, and their API is designed to be slow enough to prevent you from actually like collecting all this data. And on the other hand, Web3 is still open, and it's more open than ever, and we have more and more and more data in there, and it's extremely natural to me that we should push this direction.
Right, fantastic. It's nice getting to know a little bit more about you. You have been around the block a bit, haven't you, Vladimir? Damn.
So I'm almost 27 years old, but I've started coding like at 13 years old, and I've built my first ML models when I was 17. So I had an early start, so to say.
You could say that again. At 13 years old, you were coding.
Yeah.
That's very impressive, man. When I was 13, I couldn't figure out what to wear for the day. Uh, honestly, I think it does show the level of professionalism that you're willing to take this. And you're only 27. You've got a long life ahead of you. You've got a lot to do. So I'm looking forward to seeing what heights you take AlphaKEK with. So yeah, Vinny, is there anything else to add on your side?
Oh, Vinny, you're muted. You have enabled the vote.
Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah. No, nothing that I just wanted to thank you again for hosting us. And yeah, we'd love to do it again. It was a fun chat. And I like how you went deep. Always a pleasure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we like going deep in Tortuga. Kind of the point. Get to the salty depths, right? So yeah, I really appreciated having you guys over. We'll call that an end to the AMA. Once again, thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for having a chat with us. Before you go, though, I do have one question. What's a call to action that we could do to help you guys out? Obviously, we'll post something in the Tortuga group as well, just to reiterate that message. But what can we do to help grow your presence and help you really expand out into the Web3 world?
Maybe recommend if you're connected to any blockchains or ecosystems that could benefit from custom analytics and custom data integrations. If they just want to test what happens if their data goes into Fractal, what kind of output would they get? Like we mentioned, Airweave was really surprised about how in depth, we were able to mine some of their insights. Please let us know, and definitely join our Telegram to test out our bot, test out all the new little commands, and yeah, it's our little playground. So feel free to join.
Okay, fantastic. There are a few people in here actually that are very well connected to blockchain, so I will recommend a couple myself since I speak with some of the founders. Aptos, have you contacted Aptos recently, or are you in contact with them?
Not yet. No, they're on our list. Yeah, we did nothing heard of them.
I can give you a direct line to a founder. That's no problem. Anyway,
excellent.
Yeah, that's what we like to do over here at Tortuga. So yeah, we'll get you in contact with them, and yeah, hopefully we get some more people joining your group, trying out, well, as you said, playing around in the playground, right? But yeah, apart from that, I'm pretty happy. Let's end this off. Thank you everyone again for attending, and obviously have a pleasant evening. If you guys are interested in pushing forward and joining Tortuga, or you're looking at if you're looking at joining us from our sister group, which is in the Traders Cove, please feel free, post play, stay active in either group, and who knows, you may get added to Tortuga one day, which is our exclusive private. Okay, thank you everyone for attending, and we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you everyone. See ya.
Thanks, guys. Take care.